Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to another basic movie review channel. I'm Chase. Let's talk about a movie. And the one I want to talk about is Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, this one comes to us from Disney and Marvel. This is like their 30th or 31st movie in this entire franchise. Absolutely insane. But so this is the fourth film in the Thor franchise. What is this one about? Thor enlists the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to fight Gorr the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct. So that is your plot synopsis right there. Definitely sounds very crucial for a person that is a god butcher going after Thor, the God of Thunder. But this is the fourth film in the franchise, and this is how I'm going to do this review, just like I've done with the past Marvel films. In Phase 4, I'm going to talk about this film in a very basic format, very non-spoilery, and then I will dive into spoilers. I'll give you a pause, so that way you can click off the video and come back to it, or just don't watch this in general, save it for later. Do what you gotta do. I completely understand, but there are a few things I want to talk about, and it's really kind of hard to skirt around it in the non-spoiler. So I will divide this up into two sections. Don't worry, fair warning will be in between. Okay, so going into this film, just like with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I'm actually quite shocked on how different the marketing tactics for Marvel have been as of late. With Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I found it kind of interesting because they started doing a different approach where, like, they'll have 3 trailers, which are all pretty good, all mysterious, to kind of keep a lot of things under wraps, but they will also have a bunch of TV spots that reveal way too much. So I don't know what type of marketing people they have now. I don't know if they're different, but like they're doing a different approach, and I don't know if that's hurting the surprises and the reveals or what it's doing, because Kevin Feige, president of Marvel, has said a million times, he's like, listen, I don't like what they're doing, but he has no control over marketing anymore. So they're showing quite a bit. So, with all the TV spots and the trailers, I was intrigued about this because, with Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness, you had, like the Illuminati teased in that Super Bowl trailer. We all heard Professor X's voice and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe Patrick Stewart's coming back for that. That's crazy. So with Thor: Love and Thunder, there was really nothing too huge that, I was looking forward to when I saw the trailers. I just kind of was like, hey, Christian Bale's coming back to be in a comic book movie? That's awesome. So I've liked the marketing thus far because it's kept a lot under wraps. And I love Ragnarok. Taika Waititi really brought a sense of freshness to the franchise. Really utilizes his ability to make you laugh, but also make you cry and really just make you feel the weight of these characters. He's really great at balancing that. Ragnarok proved that he could do that. So how is Love and Thunder? I will tell you right now, I like it. I don't think it's as bombastic or as visually arresting as Thor Ragnarok, because that one was like a very a vibrant movie. It was very just like very a punch in the face when it came to like the humor and the action sequences and just the flair and personality of Thor. It was way more than this one. But I will say that this one is another great Thor odyssey. It's got the humor. I think it dips a little bit too far into the goofy territory. But like the humor is there, the heart is there, and there's a lot of emotional weight to this that I didn't expect. And it really kind of caught me off guard. And once again, just elevates this character, and he's 4 movies deep. This is the only character to have 4 movies in his own franchise. And it just shocks me that they still find different ways to make his character just build on top of previous films. And so I do like this one quite a bit. My major complaint, honestly, I think 2 hours is too short. Honestly, you could have made this a little bit more beefier with the runtime, and I think it would have added a little bit more, I guess, impact from Gorr, from Christian Bale's character. Because I think he has great moments in the movie, but they are so fleeting that you're just like, he gave us a taste, I just want more. So that is like my only major complaint, is that this film, honestly, it could have been a little bit more. And I heard that Peter Dinklage's character came back and Jeff Goldblum's character came back, but they were cut. So they had more story to tell, and I'm wondering if we'll get them in deleted scenes or what Marvel's going to do. But like, once it got going, I was like, I am totally into this, and then it just stops, and you're like, come on, man. So it might just be more of a selfish thing, because I will say that 2 hours flies by. It's one of the fastest Marvel movies I've ever seen. But yeah, my overall impression is that I like it. So for the non-spoiler section, I will say this. Taika Waititi, once again, brings his sensibility to this film like he did with Ragnarok. There's a lot of great visual gags in here, a lot of great improv lines that you can definitely tell that Chris Hemsworth had fun with, because I will say this, just off record, that man is hilarious. Like, I hated Ghostbusters, the one with, like, Kristen Wiig and, like, Melissa McCarthy. It was fine overall. You know who was a bright spot? Chris Hemsworth, because he's got comedic chops. He brings it to the Marvel franchise. Put that man in more comedies. Just don't put him in the Vacation reboot, because that movie was awful. But, like, he is fantastic at delivering lines, and just his timing is impeccable. So the comedy in this does lend itself to provide some really great belly laughs, right? But there are a few things that Taika Waititi does and makes some choices. Their choices, all right. He makes some choices, and I think they veer off a little bit into cartoonish territory, and it got old really quickly. I'll explain that in the spoiler review, but yeah. Most of the comedy works, but I think what really helps this film is the emotional journey that Thor takes, especially with Jane Foster. Remember, they haven't been together since Thor the Dark World, right? So they had that break from Dark World until now. It's been like 8 years, because the Marvel movies are in real time with our time, in reality. So it's been several years since they've been together. So it's more about their relationship and their romance, and like, how does it rekindle that love and that fire between them? That's what this movie's about. As Taika has said many times in interviews, this is a romance film. It really is. It's a romance film with fantasy action. I mean, that's basically what it is. But I thought the relationship that they inhabit in this film is way stronger than in the first Thor film and the second Thor film. It's way more powerful here. And so when the ending of the film sticks its landing, it's, a little water in my eyes. I was like, you know what? That was a great journey for these characters. And so I thought their love in this was way more powerful than the previous two films. As far as like an overall like adventure for just like a classic Thor storyline, it's great. We see him go to different planets. We see him kind of explore the galaxy a little bit. And then, of course, running into Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale. It's a real threat. Like, this guy has a weapon called the Necro Sword that can literally slice through God's heads and, like, just kill them instantly. So, like, it's a powerful weapon that can just completely not only kill all the gods out there, but drain all the color in the world. Like, it's a very, like, insidious type of, like, just creature that just, like, kind of, like, lurks around, and it can, like, attach itself to you and just never let go. So it's quite terrifying. And that character is a really well-written character, and we start the movie out with him, by the way. I'm not going to say what happens, but we start out with him so we get a little bit more into his backstory and why he's doing the things he's doing, because that's what makes a great villain, is understanding, like, where they're coming from and understanding and empathizing with what they're dealing with in terms of emotionally and their struggles. You can hate them, but understanding them on a human level is way more important to me, because that makes them more three-dimensional, and that's what makes a great villain. And of course, Christian Bale is just great, but we'll get into the performances. But this one also has like a visual eye candy component to it. So Taika Waititi definitely knows how to establish color and personality into films, and really just making it pop, making it feel just super, just really great to look at. Like, he is a great visual director, not only when it comes to like gags, but also to like, action sequences and stuff. Like, he knows how to at least set up a camera and film an action sequence from that standpoint. So yeah, I like the story overall. I wish it could have been longer. I like the journey that they all go on, and it doesn't have the same punch as Ragnarok, but I appreciate for what it is. I think Taika needs to do the fifth one and complete his trilogy. Now to the performances. Chris Hemsworth, the guy has been lived in this role for 11 years now. He knows what he's doing. There's really nothing to comment anymore. When the emotional beats hit, he can deliver. When the comedy beats hit, he can deliver. The guy's fully committed. He works out like 8 hours a day and eats like 1,200 chicken breasts a day to get the muscles that he has. So he's obviously committed to this type of role and this performance. So he, once again, embodies this character. He is this character at this point. He reminds me of, like, when you think of Wolverine, who do you think of? Hugh Jackman. No one else. You think of that man. So it's the same way with Chris Hemsworth. When people say Thor Odin's son, you think of Chris Hemsworth. So I'm glad that he has lived into this point where, like, he's just the character now. As far as the other players, like King Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, she's not in it as much, but she kicks butt as usual. I like her character. Korg, also voiced by Taika Waititi. Fun little role that he can insert his voice into. I have no issue with that character. Russell Crowe's in it as Zeus. Fun to see Russell Crowe in like this Party City getup of like what Zeus could look like, holding around like this giant lightning bolt. Just haha, I'm like the king of the universe. What a delicious role for him to just like chew into. So I really liked Russell Crowe's presence, and he also shows up. Maybe I'll talk about the spoiler section here in a bit, but he shows up again, and that will kind of set up the adventure for Thor 5. And the two I want to like kind of pinpoint the most are Natalie Portman and Christian Bale. Natalie Portman really owned this role. Not only did she commit herself and work out and get those guns on her, her character also had more depth to it. Really kind of took a journey from where we first started to where she's ending up in this one, and really just I don't know. It was just a nice kind of sweet bow on top of the present. It's just like we got the complete package from her character in this film, and I thought she really kind of delivered not only the action sequences but really sold us that emotional intensity that her character and what her character goes through and what it provides. She's fantastic. I'll explain a little bit more in the spoiler section, but and then last performance, I gotta talk about Christian Bale. This guy is so good at playing evil, it's ridiculous. Do you guys remember back in 2000 when he played American Psycho? Good old Patrick Bateman, I'm gonna kill you in your sleep as he's like peeling off his face mask type of vibe. Yeah, he does that here too. Not only is Gorr extremely empathetic in the beginning, because you understand like what he's going through. He's a guy that worships gods, and when he's betrayed, like obviously he's gonna go on a war path to kill them all. That's not a spoiler, that's just who his character is in the comics. But Christian Bale can go back and forth. So at the beginning, you see that this man, he's hurting. He wants answers. He's going after the God that he worships so he can just find out how to fix like what has happened. Because like famine has like just spread all over his planet. So he's like, can you please help us? We worship you, sir. And so just the sadness in that man's eyes and like just the deep hole that he's missing inside of him, like you can feel that. And then when he's backstabbed, you can also feel his rage. Is he taking it too far? Absolutely. He's killing planets. But like there is that level there where like you understand where he's coming from, you understand what he's doing, and his performance reflects that. He is absolutely threatening and creepy. The way that they do his makeup with like the light grays with like the orange yellow eyes that they digitally impose on him later in editing, it works. He looks like a boogeyman, just like walking slowly throughout the night. Like just even his body language exudes that character. And also he has a personality. There's a couple scenes where he talks and he kind of has like a Joker vibe where he like kind of like taunts them and like imposes his threat on them while also like laughing maniacally and stuff, because like the necro sword that he has, that goo that's on it, it's in his system now. So like he has it in him to where he's the host now. So it's no good with that. Like he just has it forever. So you have to like kind of break it, in such a strong way like Thor does, because he has the weapon to do it. So Christian Bale's performance is great. I think some of the CGI is a little wonky. Some of the green screen work and the compositing work, definitely noticeable. And I've noticed it quite a bit on some of the recent films with like Shang-Chi and like Eternals and all that stuff. I appreciate Eternals for at least using real life locations, and it really adds a lot to the scene and it adds a lot to the scope of the film. But there were a lot of sequences in this one where I felt like, oh, wow, this is clearly green screen. This is clearly a compositing work. They're not even in the same room. It was, I'll say it's a little bad sometimes. But for the most part, this being in space and for the most part, New Asgard's on Earth, but for it being in space, I think for the most part, it's really, really nice. Like the sequence between them and Gorr when he is fighting them in black and white. You've seen that in the trailers. That was cool. There was a lot of cool shots where they utilized like the moon planet that they're on or whatever with like the lighting from the sun and like the way they're fighting, like some of the wide shot choices that he chooses. Like that was really cool. It looked like a miniature. So there's some that work and some that don't. And like I said at the beginning, I thought it was too short. This should have been longer. But I definitely am excited to watch it again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Thor 5. I think that's the main takeaway I can take from this is that after watching this, Taika, complete that trilogy, do Thor 5. I think it'll be great. So that is my non-spoiler review of Thor Love and Thunder. I like it. I don't know if I like it as much as Ragnarok. Maybe on a rewatch I will think otherwise. But I like it overall. So what did you think of Thor Love and Thunder? Please comment down below and let me know. So that is the non-spoiler section. I'm giving you a fair warning. Right now, I'm going to go into the end credit scenes. I'm going to go into some of the things I noticed. So yeah, here's your warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I gave you a warning. I'm about to talk about stuff. So if you don't want to be spoiled, it's on you now. So a couple things I noticed during the movie in terms of spoilers that I can talk about. And then, of course, the end credit scenes, that's a completely different thing. But the first thing is that Gorr in the film has a daughter. She dies in the beginning of the film because she dies of starvation. And this is what prompts him to talk to the god and be like, my daughter's dead, my people are dead, like, is there anything you can do? And he laughs in his face. So at the end of the film, Gorr actually sacrifices himself to bring his daughter back, and the daughter is now in Thor's possession. So it is them two fighting alongside now. So Thor 5 is going to be him and Gorr's daughter. And Gorr's daughter is not like some innocent child. She's got powers. She can turn evil really quickly. So I'll be curious to know how that dynamic works moving forward in the Thor films. So he's basically a dad now. He is by himself because also, spoiler, Jane Foster dies. Now, I knew she was going to because they were pulling from the cancer storyline, and she has cancer in this one too. But in the comic line, she has cancer, and I'm assuming they didn't explain how she gets cancer, but remember in Thor the Dark World, that ether goes up in her. That was a radioactive substance. So I'm assuming just like with that coursing through her, bloodstream for the majority of her life, she'll probably get cancer from that. So I don't know if that was the cause. I'm just trying to correlate with MCU logic, but she has cancer in the comic line, and when she wields Mjolnir, because Mjolnir thinks she's worthy to hold it, she is temporarily healed, but when she drops that hammer or she drops being Mighty Thor, her cancer's back. So she was going to die. I knew she was going to die. It was super sad. That was probably my favorite scene in the entire movie when she was like dying in Thor's arms and like he was literally losing the love of his life. And you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe like he's literally lost everyone now. He's got a new chance to start over with Gorr's daughter. I think they call her Love in the movie. Yes, cheesy. That's where the title comes from. But yeah, he's lost everyone now. That sucks. I have a theory on where that could go when I talk about the end credit scenes. But that scene was so poetic and so nice for that character to just wrap up, and knowing that like he cared about her so much that like he was willing to let her go on this like final adventure, even though he knew she was gonna die. She wanted to do it because she wanted to work together with him, because I think deep down she loved him still too, even though she didn't want to admit it. But she admitted it at the very end, but like throughout the entire film she teased him. But her death was really impactful, really like that. Yeah, and I think that was the final thing. There was honestly not that much to discuss in the film in terms of like spoilery stuff. You guys saw the clip in the TV spot. The Celestials were seen outside of Zeus's Olympus. That can mean anything, but that also is nice to kind of see them have a presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe beyond the Eternals film, so that's really cool. So let's talk about the end credit scenes. So the first end credit scene is that when they are in Olympus and Jane Foster, I think it was Jane, or was it Thor? Someone throws the lightning bolt right through Zeus's chest. And so at the first end credit scene, Zeus is like, we must go get Thor. He's a piece of crap. Like, we got to go get him. And he's talking to Hercules, his son. And guess what? Just like with Eternals, having Thanos' brother being revealed as Harry Styles, the big actor reveal in this one, the gentleman playing Hercules is Brett Goldstein. And you're like, who is that? If you watch Ted Lasso, you know who that is. He's the guy that, like, he's really aggressive with his language, and like he's a really intense character. I forgot, I'm blanking on his character name in Ted Lasso, but it's him. He's Hercules. So he basically turns to Hercules like, you better go get Thor. And he's like, I got you, Dad. That's not what he said, but like, you know, something like that. So I think that's where Thor 5 is going. And then the second end credit scene was interesting. So Jane Foster actually, her soul transports to Valhalla, which is the place that Asgardians think that they go, where they go when they die. Now, Marvel's been playing a lot into the death thing as of late because of Moon Knight. We saw the ancestral plane with that where he died. We've seen it in Black Panther. Ms. Marvel's also dabbling in an ancestral plane where you go when you die if you believe in that type of like power. So they're getting a lot more into like death and religion, which I find is interesting. And they even do it here too with like Christian Bale's character, because Gorr is like, gods do nothing. You know, we must kill all the gods. They only think for themselves. They're selfish. And he's basically talking about Christianity too. So it's an attack on all religions and like hypocrisy that some of them can bring. So I find that interesting that Marvel's willing to go down that path and die on that hill basically, and have their commentary on it. So, I mean, I like it. Go for it. Be bold. Be creative. But the last scene is her entering Valhalla, and Heimdall's there. So Idris Elba comes back for the one quick scene. But what that tells me is that when Thor is killed off, he will be reunited with Jane in Valhalla. And that brings a tear to my eye, because it's like that's perfect for their characters to wrap up in that storyline. He'll get to be with Jane in the end. Like, they'll get to live together forever. Though he's going to have to die to do it, but it's nice to know that, like, when his soul is transported to Valhalla, he's going to be with all of his friends and be with Jane, and, like, that's going to be his paradise. That's where he's going to go after he has fought hard with all these villains and fought hard to protect his people. He will finally get to rest in Valhalla with Jane Foster. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I have a feeling when Thor finally kicks the bucket, he'll finally be reunited with everyone, and that will be the perfect send-off for his character. So I think that's why they introduced that end credit scene with Jane Foster going to Valhalla. So that's just my theory on that. But that's really it. You know, no really big cameos. Sif comes back. So Jamie Alexander, 2 scenes. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's not really any big reveal. She's always been a part of the franchise. But yeah, that's about it for the spoiler section. I really have nothing else that I can think of at the top of my head. It was mainly just those 2 end credit scenes and a couple of points in the movie I talked about it earlier. There is one thing. It's a big thing. They name drop, and we also get to see Eternity, the character. If you guys look at any type of comics, or if you're like me and you want to be lazy and do the Cliff Notes, go to New Rockstars on YouTube. They go over everything in detail. Eternity is like the Watcher, or like the Living Tribunal, or Death, or who's the other god? I forgot. But like, those are like the top of the top. So all of these storylines with Thanos or Kang the Conqueror, they're small potatoes. Think about it. In this movie, when Gorr sacrifices himself to bring his daughter back, I see in the reflection pool that his daughter, when she's walking up, it's Eternity. You see it in the reflection. So is Eternity just walking around as this small little girl on Earth? Because Eternity is the end-all be-all. Eternity is what sets up everything. It is the top god. So where do you go beyond that? You can't. The only thing that I can think of that even like tops that is Galactus, the planet-eating villain. That would be the end-all be-all, or like Celestials blowing up Earth. Because we got that hint in Eternals. Arishem the Judge was just like, if people of Earth are not worthy, I'm blowing the crap up on this planet. So Eternity was introduced in this. That's a huge deal. And my friend that I took with to see the movie, he's not really sure if it was just a name drop or if like what we saw was just like a version of Eternity, but like it's very clear that the little girl on Earth is Eternity. I don't know how they're gonna do that, man. Like that's like the top god in MCU comics. So I don't know. I'm just confused. But you know what, Kevin Feige, you got me wrapped around your little finger for this many years. I'm gonna stick along with your storylines until I just lose interest. So I'm curious. Go big or go home, right? At some point, you will have to end all this. So yeah, Eternity, crazy. So that will do it for the spoiler section of this review. Thank you for tuning in for this very, very long review. But you guys know how it goes. Sometimes I get a little too happy to talk about this stuff. But thank you for joining me on this review. You guys are awesome. Please let me know down below all your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. And I will see you guys for the next review. Goodbye.